NFL, as we know, the regular season is fastly approaching. It won't be long now. But we heard Steve DeSager in the update talk about the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and all the starters are not playing. The game, I think it's tomorrow, correct?
Against the Giants. Saturday night.
Saturday night. That's always the last preseason game growing up in New York. Jets and Giants, they play the last one, and they're just not going to play.
He used to play Princeton. Yeah,
and people are saying, well, Aaron Rodgers hasn't played. Rob G, you got all the numbers. I want Rob G to tell you. Like remember, with the injury, coming back, he hasn't played in a long time. And some people are like, well, maybe he should play a little bit to just get some rust off, get acclimated with his new team that he really never got a chance to play with. But Rob G has all these numbers, Andy. Listen to these closely.
So assuming Aaron Rodgers again doesn't play in the preseason, which we've been told he will not, his first return to action will be on the season opener September 9th against the Niners, Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. That will be just 2 days short of the 1-year anniversary of his torn Achilles.
Wow.
More than that, Aaron Rodgers has not played a full game of any kind in 20 months.
That's crazy. 20 months. That's almost 2 years, right? Almost.
It's not going to make a difference. I'm telling you. The guy's 40 years old. He's played the game. He knows what he's got to do. It's fine. Everything's fine. Believe me. He's in good shape. He's not in football shape, but physically he's okay. He's not gonna be passing out. I'm sure he's running. He's okay. He's fine. And let me tell you, most of these regulars never play. The only guy who plays who's a regular is Patrick Mahomes. He's the only guy who plays a preseason. And I tell you what, I guarantee you, Robert Saleh, the coach of the Jets, they say it's his decision. It wasn't his decision. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers went to him and said, I ain't playing, period. End of story. Because when I see Robert Saleh on TV in post-game news conferences, it looks like he's got a deer in the headlights. This guy's afraid. He's on the hot seat big time. They're turning it up big time in New York with this guy.
Well, there's no doubt. But I think the Jets are doing the right thing only from this standpoint. If somehow, some way, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in some freakish, meaningless game, not only would their season go south, but all those guys, Robert Saleh, the general manager, like heads would roll on why he was put out there in a meaningless game.
Exactly.
Andy, just for the things that you just talked about. He knows the game. He doesn't have to play a preseason game in order to get out there. He practices with his teammates for some rhythm. Yes, it's not game action, but I actually think this is smart because anything other than getting Aaron Rodgers healthy to start the opener and not have him hurt has to be the goal after last year. You want to talk about a letdown. I mean, that was the most unbelievable. He went from running out on 9/11 with the flag, right, to 4 snaps.
Carried off the field.
4 snaps. It was
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Right. But I will say this. I'd say the only sport where you need to practice is boxing, because you need a sparring partner. You're never going to go into a big fight cold. You have to have a sparring partner. Other than that, I don't think you have to practice. NBA guys, they don't practice. They shoot around a little bit. They're in shape. Really? You think they practiced for the Olympics? Come on.
In college
really?
football, they don't play preseason
There's
games.
No preseason.
It's called the first 4 games of the season, which is what those
right.
games, Andy, am I right? They play cupcakes.
It's playing Toledo.
Exactly. Those are the games that they get ready and basically are non-competitive blowouts, you know what I mean, playing schools to pad their record and get their practice in before they play the conference schedule or whatever. They play the big boys. But, yeah, I don't think the Jets have a choice. I think this is a big year for Saleh and for the general manager and for that organization, because I'm not saying they got to win the Super Bowl, but if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt or they don't perform well, there's no way that this is staying intact.
And there's another thing. And you wrote for the New York Daily News. You lived and worked in New York City. You know what it's like. The Jets are always the afterthought. It's the Giants. The Giants own that town, not the Jets. But this is a year the Jets can make some hay. They can, because the Giants are terrible. They stink. They really do.
I agree. And we have seen in New York, even though the Yankees and Giants, of course, command most of the attention, right? But you know this too, Andy. During the 80s with Strawberry and Gooden, the Mets were viable and on the back page all the time, right? Over the Yankees.
Yes.
And the Jets as well could be there if they get off. Their schedule's soft to start. So what if they win their first 4 or 5 games? You don't think there'll be a buzz about the Jetropolitans over the Giants? 100%.
Right. Exactly right. You're right. I mean, that's the way. But you know, he's not alone. That's what they do. I mean, Joe Burrow's the same situation in Cincinnati.
They can't afford him to get hurt. My God.
Doubt. Right. I mean, he goes down. Forget about it. They might as well move out of town.
Oh yeah, and the other thing too is, while Patrick Mahomes plays and it's admirable, it is tricky because if he got hurt in one of these games, there would be hell to pay. There really would be because he doesn't really need to do it as well. I get it. As long as you get your work in, those preseason games, we already know most people. I think I can't watch preseason football. I think, like after the first series, Andy, I just can't watch it.
Yeah, because these guys will never be around during the regular season. But here's the deal. Most of these teams are going for these inter-squad practices. Like this week, the Indianapolis Colts came to Cincinnati to practice against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think when years go by, a year or 2 years from now, they're going to eliminate all the preseason games. They're going to go to those practices because they could stop, they could teach, they could do what they got to do, and you're not banging heads against yourself in practice, and it eliminates the possibility of an injury in a regular game. So I think the preseason games are going to go down the tube. They really will.
Yeah, it's interesting because they want to the reason they want to get rid of them is not because they don't think that they're valuable as far as getting the look at people, is that they want to trade those games for national games and lots more money. The league doesn't make any money when the game is on the local Channel 19 in Cincinnati. Am I right? You know what I mean, Andy? On a Saturday, they don't make any money off of those. They want those games to be a part of the national coverage and have these networks or these entities pay them gobs of money. That's what the big push is for 18 games. It's a financial thing. That's all it is.
They need 18 games because it's odd because there are some teams that have 7 home games, some teams have 8, some 9. You have to balance it out. 18 be perfect, 9 and 9.
If I'm the union, and I know they have a terribly weak union, I'm not talking about an 18th game unless you're talking about
two buys.
You got to forget about the buys. I want better pension, and I want a better medical. You know what I mean? Like
and a better
medical
field
benefits.
Turf. They want natural grass.
Like I want those things, and they have enough money. They brag about all the money they make. Make them all grass and stop us from getting these knee injuries and all these guys' careers going up in flames and all that. But